I'm Tiffany. I worked full-time before I got married. But the truth is that company had terrible places to work. I had nearly 90 hours of extra work that wasn't paid. Even though I was going to be married, I thought about working, but I quit because of health problems. I now follow a healthy routine and go to bed and wake up at normal times. After I quit, my health got a lot better. My husband, Theo, didn't disagree with my choice to quit. He seems to love that I'm home doing jobs and waiting for him to get home from work. Whenever we were first married, he would say, "I'm so lucky to have a wife who welcomes me home." That thought had become a given after 5 years, which was to be expected. Things still go wrong every so often. When we visit, my mother-in-law, Sarah, who used to be nice, always asks, "When will you give me a grandchild?" She always says it when Theo isn't there. Hearing this over and over again for years has caused me a lot of stress. Honestly, the only reason I have any desire to see her is to avoid her company, as she makes me feel awful. John is my father-in-law. He is quiet, nice, and doesn't get in the way. The strange thing is that Theo says kids are a pain and cost a lot. But when his folks find out, he acts like it doesn't matter to him. I once told him, "If you don't want kids, tell your parents." He laughed it off and said, "Isn't that a conversation for a woman?" When things need to be done right, he avoids duty by sticking to his own ethics. Thus, in the eyes of his mother, I am the wife who is unable to conceive, whereas he prefers the husband who is able to do so. Finally, I tried to be clear by saying, "Theo doesn't want kids." But Sarah, who is sure I can't get pregnant, said, "You were just trying to blame someone else." John tells Sarah not to get in the way of our decisions sometimes, but she doesn't listen. Theo finally doesn't want to deal with the stress of being a parent, but he also doesn't want to make his mom mad either. It's clear that he always wants to make his mom happy. I really didn't think he'd be this unstable. He would likely save his mother before me if the ship was sinking. Yes, he's a bit old-fashioned, but at least you're not living with them, my mom says on a call during the week in the afternoon. I've talked to my mom a lot about Theo and Sarah over the past year. My mom is quiet, but she makes sense. She listens slowly and often makes me feel better. At times, I experience guilt due to my belief that a wife ought not to disclose her troubled marriage to her parents. However, my mother is the only one who truly understands this, since Theo is absent. I'm sorry for always talking about this. I know you have your struggles too. It's okay. Mom's fine now. The hospital tests showed nothing wrong. In fact, she just got a pacemaker and had surgery on her heart 3 months ago. I was scared when I learned she was going to have surgery, but she laughed it off. I remember telling my husband about it, and he said, "Pacemakers are pretty common these days. It's not that big of a deal." But when his own mother hurt her ankle, he freaked out and told me he'd help out without being asked first. Talk about having two sets of rules. Putting a bandage on an ankle is not nearly as important as having surgery. I always whine on the phone, and because I live so far away, I don't get to see my family very often. This time, I'm going to surprise my mom on her birthday with a trip with my dad because I haven't been the best daughter to them in the past. I'm home. Dinner's ready. My husband always says as he sits down to eat. No longer does he really say anything about the food, but I was excited about the plan my dad and I made. Actually, my mom's birthday is coming up. "Oh," he said after pausing to eat his steak and taking a puzzled look at me. "I was thinking of booking a hotel in Lake Tahoe and taking a trip there." Really? He didn't seem very interested. The hotel is pretty fancy, and a lot of people like it here. This person helped me a lot. His eyes lit up when he heard the word luxury. A fancy hotel. "We're going to have different rooms from your parents, right?" "Of course we are. They're both going to be there, so why don't we go see some sights in Lake Tahoe together?" "Sure." "Oh well, at least he seems interested. Since he spends most of his time with his parents, he shouldn't mind going on trips with mine every once in a while." Lucky for me, my parents are taking care of everything this time, so I don't have to plan the date or the hotel. It's like I let them handle everything. "Where are you going?" "I need to ask for time off." While I was packing in the bedroom, my husband threw the question over his shoulder. Did I not tell you? The 23rd and 24th are the dates. Oh, right. When I turned around, I saw him playing around with his phone without thinking. It's all the gifts for Sarah that were forgotten, among other things. Of course, today had something to do with my choice. Out of the blue, my angry mother-in-law yelled, "A woman like you who doesn't work or even have kids should be thankful just to be married." I didn't feel scared when I realized I could also cut ties with her. Look, don't put me down. Also, just so you know, it was your son who didn't want kids because he thought being a parent would be hard. He probably never said that, though. My wife's mother just sat down shocked. She had always thought it was my fault, but she didn't know that her son had made the choice all along. So my father-in-law took my husband and mother-in-law away, and I went on a family trip with my folks. You had quite the eventful birthday, didn't you? My mom said, "I'm sorry," in her normal happy voice. As long as you are happy, that's all that matters. But I had no idea he was that bad. I should have stopped by earlier to see how things were going. I no longer give a damn about it, as I have been living that way for an extended period of time. It was a wake-up call. My dad was pretty quiet, but there was a hint of happiness on his face. After that, my husband and I got a divorce, but it looks like his relationship with his mom has gotten worse. He was never kind, and I was always in charge of everything except his job. It was said that his room turned into a garbage dump without me there. It looks like my ex-mother-in-law cleans up for him often. But she's about to lose it because she fights a lot with her son, who she used to love. The cops were called because their fight got so bad. My ex-father-in-law says she did this to herself by giving their son too many good things. It's interesting that on the day of the hotel incident, my ex-mother-in-law was friendly with the head of a neighborhood organization. Was also taking a break there. He saw all of her crazy behavior. People in her community no longer value her because she is seen as the mother of the husband who forced his wife to leave him. For myself, I landed a job at the hotel that my uncle owns. He hired me without telling anyone that I'm related to the owner because he was looking for work after his split. I'm now learning from staff members who have more experience. The hotel job takes careful attention. There are still things I haven't learned in times when I've been told I was wrong. But it's a big change from the housework I used to do that no one noticed. Everything that is done here is praised. He looked truly angry. After I get married, my parents should usually come first. Tell your parents to go home. What? That's correct. From now on, it's just the two of us and our son. My mother-in-law said without missing a beat. I was really hurt. I never thought he would be this way. Where did my kind husband go after we got married? Then a big man in a suit quickly came up to us. Is there a problem? My mother-in-law started talking very quickly before he could finish. Get rid of these people. We'll use their last few nights. I'm sorry, but we can't do that. She snapped. Why not? They have already paid, and we have them booked until the day after tomorrow. She glared at me in anger. She is married to my son. What my son's wife and her parents own is pretty much ours. Just a nod from my husband. Every feeling I had at that moment just blew up when I saw that scene. The man said he was sorry, but they couldn't do that. She told him, first of all, you're letting such ugly people stay here. Will it make the hotel look bad? My husband started to blame me. I chose to go behind my husband's back and tell him the truth. You know, this place is my father's family home. My husband and mother-in-law looked at me with wide eyes. The man in the suit is my father's younger brother, which means he is my uncle. My uncle began to talk in a strong but humble way. I'm a lot younger than my brother. People in our family were busy with their hotel business at the time. He looked after me like a parent. He gave me everything I have now. When my dad heard this, he got upset and said, "You." I was so happy when I heard you were staying here because I thought I could finally repay his kindness. You think you can stay for free because it's the family of your son's wife. I could hear my wife's mother groaning. We have rooms that cost between 450 and 1800 rupees per night. If you're interested, Please go to the front desk. Keep the price the same. Both my husband and his mother were shocked. What should we do? There's no other hotel that we know of. What do you think I'll say? My father-in-law let out a deep sigh as he watched them. This is karma for always taking credit for Tiffany's achievements and trying to impress your mother with them. My husband didn't seem to know what to say. I'm really sorry, everyone. He began to say, I never thought my son would do something like this. No, wait, John, I said right away. I also feel sorry for my father-in-law. His son asked him to go to the hotel, but he found out he had been. My mother-in-law seemed to have learned even more, but all of a sudden she got it. Wait, can't you give us a discount since it's a family-run hotel? After all, we're family. How can she have no shame? Has she forgotten everything she did? But my uncle said in a cool voice, I don't think of someone as family who insults my loved ones. What he said made me understand something. It was rude of my husband and mother-in-law to treat me that way all along. I was given all the hard jobs to do. They took any praise they could get. What did I do for them? They took advantage of me and put me down. There would have been no trip if they had even a little thought about my family. You've always looked down on me, haven't you? I looked at my husband, who hung his head and didn't say anything. You thought that if you pushed hard enough, my parents would let this go. That's awful. I didn't have the money to stay at that fancy hotel. I just wanted to make people like me. He glared at me with sadness in his face. My husband's father came up to me and looked upset. Doesn't this sound like you? Who are you trying to protect the most right now, huh? Your mother, who you always want to look good in front of. My husband stood still and had a serious look on his face. Listen, you are married, my father-in-law said next. Protecting your wife should be your top concern, not making your mom proud. Still, even though my husband turned away, I saw the look on his face. No matter what, he will always pick his mother. I got up the courage to speak out. John, thanks for everything you've done for me so far. You've helped me more than he ever did. He and I used to live together, but I can't do it anymore. My husband was shocked and looked up. Let's get a divorce. It made me feel so free to say the word divorce out loud. Right, I've always wanted to divorce him. Are you serious? From behind, I could hear my mom's voice. I said yes. Yes, I've been thinking about it for a while now. My husband quickly said, Hold on, I'll say sorry for what happened this time. It's not just about this time. He doesn't really pay attention to me or my family, so I've told him about this trip before. But when he thought about it, his lack of response was better than his previous emotions. We drove to the fancy hotel in Lake Tahoe on the day of the trip. My parents had come the night before. We were going to explore Lake Tahoe with them today and have dinner at the hotel. They haven't been seen in a while. Maybe since my mom had surgery. The two of them are retired and don't normally blow up, so this trip should be fun. I read a Lake Tahoe vacation magazine while sitting in the passenger seat. After I checked in, I was going to call my parents to the office, but they were already in the parking lot, and Sarah was standing next to them. My husband quickly pulled over, parked the car, and ran over to them. What the heck is going on? I was sure that I had explained the plan well. It didn't take me long to get out of the passenger seat and follow. What's going on there? While I was upset, my husband started talking to my parents in a smooth way. You knew about a great hotel, right? From tomorrow on, we're going to enjoy it with my parents. You paid for the stay already, right? Both of my parents were shocked. Of course they would be. This wasn't even supposed to happen. As bold as ever, my mother-in-law said, You know a lot of good hotels. Take care of it for us, okay? Let's go to Alaska next time. What are you saying? My father-in-law, on the other hand, asked my husband, Didn't you invite us on this trip? He seemed to have the same lack of knowledge as we did. You said you pay for it. I could feel my blood rush to my head when I heard that. Wait a second. My parents booked this hotel for us. Why do you just stare you ready to invite yours? What's the big deal? Asked my mother-in-law. You can't keep this nice hotel all to yourself. You should care more about the parents of your husband. Because I don't get to see my parents as often as John and Sarah. I wanted to take them on a fancy trip. Also, my mom's birthday is today. With a really serious look, my mother-in-law looked at me from head to toe. You've never given me a present for my birthday. Such clear favoritism? You did send Sarah her favorite flowers recently, didn't you? That came from your son. Don't take credit for what other people do. When I looked at my husband, he tried to avoid my eyes. While we were married, I chose and gave all of the gifts. He never seemed interested in doing it. So you kept silent about the gift for Sarah. He said something terrible when he looked into my husband's eyes. I'm going to buy them with your money. It's the same as if I had chosen